What's up guys, Rain here, and I'm going to be showing this match I had against Green-Black Elves with Blue-Red Burning Vengeance. Just want to highlight the power of this deck, as my opponent's deck was also quite good. I played a lot of games on Burning Vengeance, and I will show the draft for this later, but I just want to emphasize this one because I played against a really good deck, and I think it really shows to the power of both of these archetypes. So without further ado, let's begin. I take a look at this hand, and I'm not super happy. I really need a second land to play Giant Tortoise or Quiet Speculation, and my land can't cast me Flame Jab, so I mulligan. I see two lands, a Wee Dragonauts, a Sorcerer. This hand's a little slow, but has a Desperate Ravings, so I really do want to keep that third land, so I decide to keep it. If I don't hit the third land, it's really bad for me, and if I hit future land drops, it's okay, because I can discard them to Desperate Ravings for value. So I'm feeling okay here as long as I don't get rushed down. I see my opponent's on a black deck. I'm figuring most likely a bad deck. I think black is the worst color in this format. The one exception is Green-Black Elves, which is a very good deck. That's about it. I cast Desperate Ravings here. Not sure if that's necessarily correct. I probably should just waited for the instant speed. Especially since I could be faking memory lapse right here. So that was a mistake. Hindsight 2020. So third land drop here. I'm debating whether to play Prodigal Sorcerer or Wee Dragonauts. I choose, I believe, to play the Prodigal Sorcerer, as it's slower to get online, and it's a good time to get it online. And I'm a little happier if he removes it, just because Wee Dragonauts is like a huge finisher for this deck. So I go for the Prodigal Sorcerer. Most of the reason was because it's really slow to get online, and it's just probably not going to get too much better. He happens to have the Tragic Slip for it, which is unfortunate because Wee Dragonauts would have lived there, but there's a lot of cards that Wee Dragonauts would have died there to black as well. So I'm not too worried about it. At this point, I think I just want to play Phantom Monster because I'm just dragging him through all his removal so I can eventually cast Wee Dragonauts, and that's my game plan. And I'm totally fine with that Eye ending. Okay, so he plays the Forest and Elvish Vanguard this turn, and that's scary, but it's not too bad. He didn't have a follow-up elf, so he's really clinched on Forests, I think, at this point, which is making me feel pretty comfortable. And I really just want to Firebolt this Vanguard now, because it's going to get out of reach fairly quickly. I have a Desperate Ravings I could flash back, just checking on that. Miss my land drop, but I do keep it because of the flashback on Desperate Ravings. There's a higher chance I can discard the island, which I really don't need at this point in the game. Archer's fine, I don't want to memory lapse that, so time to flashback Desperate Ravings. And discard a random card. And this was really upsetting. I discard Wee Dragonauts at random, which is really sad, but you know, that's life sometimes. I don't think it was a mistake to flash it back. Flashing back a Firebolt here isn't bad, and I'm really considering it. I'm also just considering Desperate Ravings to help me dig for an actual way to win the game. And I discard an island here, so I'm glad I've been holding on to these. So I can Firebolt the Archer and hold up Memory Lapse, and that's what I'm thinking about here. But I can also flashback Desperate Ravings. And most of my cards I'm okay to discard to Ravings. Charbelcher is something I really want to hold on to. Though hilariously later on it's going to bust that into the range of less than 1% of effectiveness. So that's kind of awkward. Llanowar Elves, Wirewood Symbiote. No, don't Memory Lapse the Symbiote. God. I suppose this is okay, it's just not great. I'm going to be firebolting that symbiote anyway, so this is just a tempo play. It's not bad, but it's not doing too much for me. It could be helping me because he has to use the green lands to recast symbiote, so if he potentially played an elf next turn that I cared about. I want to get Belcher on the board. It's going to be my repeated source of removal, as well as potentially providing me with a clock if he can't put on enough of a clock on me. I firebolt the elves because he's pinched on green mana, and part of the reason to memory lapse there is so I can pinch him a little more on green mana. So not firebolting the elves there would have been a mistake if you did the memory lapse play. I'm counting my lands here. I'm going to slow down a little. I've been playing pretty fast. I'm counting my lands here. I see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 because there's 2 lands in my graveyard. And I'm playing, I believe, 17 lands. So I know there's 7 lands left in my deck, which is a third of my deck. Which, you know, the flood has been awkward for me, but it hasn't been the worst. I can discard these lands to Desperate Ravings, and my Belcher should be a lot more powerful with a third of my deck being lands rather than anything higher than that. So, as I've drawn about a little more spells than lands, but not by much, by like 1 or 2. So the concentration of lands in my deck is less than it was at the beginning of the game. He recast his Wirewood Symbiote, which I'm thinking about belching. But I also know that if I don't kill that Wirewood Symbiote, that's kind of a big deal. Urborg Uprising, don't really care about that. He gets back a Vanguard, which is the scariest thing about it. But he's on 1 other card in hand, so I'm not too concerned. Draw Dragonauts here, and now I can play Dragonauts and flashback my Desperate Ritual, which is really good. I can also belch if I want to save the Desperate Ritual for Dragonaut's Pump, so I can belch the symbiote. But he's also not putting a lot of pressure on me here, so there's a chance I actually just want to belch his face and start putting on a pretty fast clock. So he attacks me for 2, it has Death Touch. I'm just taking it. I should really, in retrospect, belch the symbiote, but I don't think it's really bad to belch his face at this point. Oh, do I belch the Vanguard? I should belch the Vanguard. It's when it's on cast, so it's not on enter the battlefield, so there's no way I can belch the Vanguard when it's at 1 toughness if the thing he does immediately after this is Llanowar Elves. So he casts Llanowar Elves, that immediately triggers the Vanguard on cast. I guess no, I'm stupid. I can definitely respond to this. So I only would need 1, but it's not a big worry. Okay, so I kind of screwed up here. I should have belched the Vanguard on the first activation. Oh, never mind, he has Symbiote. Symbiote's OP. Okay. So I hit a mountain on top, which means my Belcher does nothing, which is kind of awkward. Getting flooded here. This is a good time to go for that Desperate Ravings. Should have Ravings first. I'm considering whether I can actually race him with Belcher and Dragonauts on board. Unfortunately, with Belcher actually just missing that turn, it's kind of a big deal. I want to go after this Vanguard because it's still relatively small. Now I should go after the symbiote, but that's still fine. I get the... Like, even if he does that, it's alleviating pressure, so that's fine. I think I should have flipped the cards there. I'll lose the legal target. I just passed turn because I'm going to Desperate Ravings. I still need a little bit more to actually win this game. This is the point of the game where my opponent's deck does start getting ahead. because this is the little dip that Blue-Red Burning Vengeance has. But he can't put on a ton of pressure on me because I've been constantly tempoing him out, so all his big creatures are kind of out in the wayside, and he's just attacking with a 2-1 that I can kill at any point here. So, not really worried. Am worried about the symbiote combo with Elvish Vanguard, because that's a big deal. He's no longer stuck on green, but I kept him off of heavy green for a long time, which I think was actually really good. He recast his Elvish Vanguard, no surprise. I'm not holding up Counterspell, which is partly my fault. I should be. So I'm just waiting to flash back this Desperate Ravings. Don't really care too much. Oh, he untaps, so he bounces his 2-1 back to his hand to untap his Llanowar Elves, which is perfectly fine. So he can pump the Vanguard. He plays another Vanguard, which is kind of scary. Because I know he has another Elf in his hand, and he has a Symbiote to start pumping those Vanguards every turn. Plays the Archer, pumps his 2 Vanguards. Yeah, so this is it. This is the pause point. So if you're watching this video, this is the point I wanted you to pause to emphasize the power of this deck. I'm sitting on 2 lands in hand. My opponent has a 3-3 Vanguard, a 2-2 Vanguard, a Wirewood Symbiote. I just have this. He can't bounce more than once a turn. I don't know what he's doing. But I suppose a lot of people will have to learn that because they haven't played against Legacy Elves. My Belcher's whiffed twice, which is highly unlikely. We're talking about 2% at this point. So I discard the Silent Departure. Little upset about that, but I found a Burning Vengeance, which is a big deal. Wait, is it this turn? It might not be this turn. No, it's not this turn, it's next turn. But either way, this is a good place to pause and come into. I play Burning Vengeance here, and suddenly my board is insane. I really should be flashing back Firebolts, I think. Flashing back Silent Departure is fine. Silent Departure target the big Vanguard, and Wirewood Symbiote target with Burning Vengeance. Means he can save his Vanguard, but his Symbiote's going to die. So I got the Symbiote off the board. It's the most important thing to do against Elves. There's really not much consideration here. There's not much he can have. Yeah. So he's bouncing another elf to his hand. Yeah. So he can start pumping his Vanguards more. Silent Departure bounces the big Vanguard and keeps the little one around. So this is the scary turn for me, because he kills the wee Dragonauts, but I'm not really in a lot of danger. I know 2 of the cards in his hand are Llanowar Elf, Elvish Vanguard, so most I'm taking 7 at a base here. More realistically, I'm taking 8. So I do take 7 here, go down to 5, which is scary. If he has a Shaman of the Pack, I'm just dead here. But it has to be the last card in his hand. So this is the turn. This is the turn. I draw Flame Jab, and I'm going to take a long time thinking here. But you just take a look at this nonsense. Okay, so my opponent's board is a 4/4 Elvish Vanguard, a 2/2, a 1/1, a 2/1, and a 1/2. I have nothing but lands out and 3 cards in hand. Oh, sorry, a Burning Vengeance out too. I'm not using a Charbelcher this turn. I would if I was dead on board, just to see if I can randomly 17 him, which I actually think I would have, which is hilarious, keeping in mind what I drew for this game. So I flashback Firebolt, Burning Vengeance and Firebolt, target the Vanguard, take it down. I Firebolt the Vanguard, take down the other 2/2. This would already be a fine spot. Then we get to Flame Jab, Thornwheeled Archer. And then we get to retrace Flame Jab with Burning Vengeance to kill the rest of his board. Oh my god, that's so good. And we have so many flashback cards in our graveyard, so we are up like 4 to 5 cards on him. We have a Belcher out, we have a Burning Vengeance out, and Flame Jab is Lightning Bolt at this point that we can just cast every time we draw a land, and Firebolt is insane as well. So I start belching him. I missed for a 3rd time, and now we're reaching below 1% zones. Missing with Belcher 3 times is like... oh, what's it like? We're beginning to talk about lightning striking, but that has to be another 2 more Belcher activations than lightning struck. I don't care about this Tragic Slip. It's one good thing about the Vengeance deck is their removal, unless you have Young Pyro, is mostly shit. So, okay, one more time, and we've struck lightning. And who knew Deep Analysis is a common in the set, and a good card. So don't tap all those islands. Oh, okay. I guess I'm just belching him. Yep, lightning struck. Okay, anybody in the description here want to tell me the odds of missing with Belcher 5 times in a row? You would be great. Because, yeah, that's pretty nuts. Especially since Belcher's putting the lands on the bottom, so you can't flip them in the next Belcher. There's a lot of math that goes into that, but I've drawn a lot of lands this game, discarded quite a few to Desperate Ravings, and bottomed a lot of lands as Belcher. And we're getting to some serious mathematical anomalies, but you know, sometimes that happens. We didn't actually need Belcher to win this game. It just would have won us the game a lot faster if it actually functioned, you know, relatively effectively. And we found our win condition. Since Belcher's been failing us, we're just going to call the Skybreaker. And every time we retrace Call the Skybreaker, we get to deal 2 damage. So that's a 3-turn clock. Either way, call the Skybreaker. Checking, makes an elemental. Just keeping an eye on what's in my graveyard. Fairly important. Duplicant is non-token creature. So yeah, as you can see, my opponent has a lot of good removal. He has double Tragic Slip, he has Duplicant, he has the Destroy Target Non-Elf creature, and it's all just dead here. And that's a huge upside to playing this deck. So he's just forced to play the duplicate as a 6-mana 2/4, which is sad, but I understand. I draw a land here. All that says to me is I'm playing another 5/5 elemental and killing a Llanowar Elf. Killing Llanowar Elves is important because Shaman in the Pack is one of the games I can still lose. One of the ways I can still lose this game, but he's down to 1 card in hand, so it really isn't. So yeah, this game is over. There's nothing he can do. I have Firebolt Flashback in the graveyard, so yep, there we go. Moving on to game 2. I Firebolt to Symbiote. Oh, sorry. I should really slow down a little bit here. Okay. He's on the play. Kinda scary. This hand is quite good. We have turn 1 Firebolt, turn 2 Quiet Speculation. We have Memory Lapse and Desperate Ravings. It's kind of a control game, but we have nice proactive ways to start this game. Notably with Quiet Speculation. Always Firebolt the Symbiote, guys. That card's going to make your Firebolt shit if you don't Firebolt it itself. Plays Archer, not worried. Archer's just not a clock, it's just an elf. Don't get me wrong, it's good in the elf deck, it's just not something you really need to worry about too often. So now I know I'm getting Faithless Looting into Deep Analysis, because I want to dig. I'm just debating what I want to get as my 3rd flashback card in the graveyard. Seriously considering Deep Analysis, but I go for the versatility here and get Silent Departure in the graveyard just in case I need it for a big Vanguard. It's not costing me too much in card advantage. I have Deep Analysis and Faithless Looting flashbacks, and Desperate Ravings, which should all just find me what I need to win this game. I'm just going to Firebolt this Archer. My plan's generally to cast Desperate Ravings anyway. Oh, I flashback Deep Analysis. You know what? That's fine too. I think I should have flashback Desperate Ravings, but... Or sorry, cast Desperate Ravings, as I had 2 lands in hand and only 1 card I needed to keep. But he gets flooded here, and 2 Firebolts is enough to win the game. I think I would have won anyway, even if he didn't get flooded here. It's very hard to imagine an elf start that beats double Firebolts, plus like Silent Departure, Memory Lapse. But there's always a chance. Elves is a really good deck, and I will be showing that off at some point, and I'll be showing me losing to it because I've played the elf deck, but I haven't actually played against any good players with the elf deck, and it's going to be another way to describe another archetype that I think has changed a lot in my evaluation of it. Just show that match. I think it's important to showing off the tiers and understanding the set. Well, anyway, I thank you for watching, and have a nice day.